I'm Pluto Burns, and welcome to Eagleland. One reoccurring trope of manga that continues to perplex me is, why do Japanese people suck at physical activity? I'm not referring to them having less muscle mass, no, I'm talking about basic coordination problems. In more mangas than I care to count, characters just fail at basic locomotion. Even in Eyeshield 21, we had a flashback sequence describing how Sena learned how to not run like a leg-braced Forrest Gump. Apparently, before he got some training, Sena didn't run by kicking against the ground. He ran by dragging his feet across the ground. How do you even? I bring this up because today's manga is another sports-themed manga, but this one is shoujo. Because we have such a good record when it comes to sports-themed shoujos on this show. S.P.Y is pretty clearly one of those mangas that was made for the benefit of the mangaka and the female audience, as its swimming theme allows for lots and lots and lots of shirtless hot guys. It's not quite as blatant as Free, but it's getting there. I mean, one of the guys in the manga works as a literal male model. Just ass! I'm pretty sure that billboard violates some of Japan's decency laws. Oh, God. The swimming motif is clearly in place for the same reason Sweet Reindeer had so many beach scenes. As an excuse to draw people with fewer clothes. The heroine is shown running around in a bathing suit a lot, even in areas other than the pool. And yes, the hot guys are laid on pretty thick. Which means we have the return of one of our favorite gags on this show, the Fetish Guys Harem Roll Call. Oh man, I thought of some good nicknames for this one.
Pluto.
So let's get started.
Pluto!
What?
This isn't a harem.
It isn't? No way! It has to be a reverse harem. Look, it's got the preening pretty boy, the water ballet twins, dreads and afro. Shit, they even have the show debate. And not one of those characters you listed matters in the least. They don't even get names. They get introduced in the first chapter, visually, and then barely exist from that point forward. The only boys that matter are Ass Man and this guy reading a manga next to a giant teddy bear. But I had a whole bunch of Nabushin jokes lined up. Save them. Well, if we only have two guys, let's focus on them. Ass Man is a bloody model. Yeah, one of the guys who pursues Ellie is a model who flashes his hot butt on billboards. And the two constantly get into arguments over whether his mole is on his butt or his hips. And for the life of me, I cannot fathom his motives. We'll get to Ellie later because she's not as interesting as the characters around her. Ass Man's reason for hanging out with her is frankly baffling. He says that he just wanted to find out more about his former swimming coach's daughter and hurt her because former swimming coach, but that stated goal runs in complete counter to what he actually does with his ass. First off, he immediately squirrels Ellie away from a mob of his fans who encircled her. When she admires his swimming form, he offers to give her lessons, only turning her down when she insists it happened at the school swim club. And on the day of her swim test, he gives her a pair of goggles because she casually mentioned she didn't have any once. Oh, I fixed up Grandpa's watch for you, so there you go. Gee, thanks. I really appreciate it. Yeah, well, I still hate you, so don't go getting any ideas. And then there's a bit where Ellie gets sick because she fell asleep on the floor with her clothes on, and he stops by and puts a rag on her head. Basic manga stereotypical caregiving. So even though Mr. Grey claims to not care, he willingly takes on the role of caregiver. And for some reason, the manga tries to create drama where the other romantic interest is the one who mostly took care of her, but she blearily saw Ass Man and gave him all the credit. But then later, Violence Jack just tells her that he's the one who took care of her, and she accepts it. And no drama was had. On the one hand, I really appreciate a manga character acting like a human being and talking about the shit that human beings talk about. But on the other hand, romance manga without contrived conflict just feels empty. Speaking of violence, Jack, he is the first eligible bachelor we meet in this manga, so he is, by default, the winner. He's got the usual bad boy with a heart of gold thing going on, but I really do have to show you how we, the reader, are introduced to this guy. He is slamming a man's face into a window until the window cracks. It's clearly an attempt to establish his bad boy cred, but it way overshoots the target and lands squarely in psychopath territory. I wonder how Ellie would react to this guy.
Oh, God.
But what's especially weird about this is that this is basically the only time he acts like this. The sweet element to his violence spice is his fondness for reading romance mangas while being molested by Winnie the Pooh. And they so overplay that joke and focus on his taking care of Ellie that he just stops being even the least bit threatening. He's actually pretty cute at times, watching him do some last-minute coaching of Ellie before her swim test. Which finally brings me around to the issue that I've been dancing around this whole review. Ellie cannot swim.
I can't swim.
We'll figure something out.
Now, I'm aware that my affluent background granted me the opportunity to learn to swim as a child, and not being able to swim well is actually fairly common, especially in inner-city communities. But Ellie isn't from the inner city. She grew up on a bloody island. She had every opportunity in her short life to learn how to swim, but she didn't. Which makes her decision to move with her dad to the big city and join a school specifically for the swim team even more perplexing. Even though she knows she can't swim, she just runs straight at it all gung-ho anyway, basically screaming, "I'm sure it'll work this time!" But it doesn't. At all. She almost immediately drowns and has to be rescued.
I'm dying! I can't swim.
And it's not like she has a phobia of water. She manages to pick up a decent doggy paddle after a bit of training. But then I have to question how the daughter of an Olympic swimmer sucks this hard at swimming. Yeah, her mom won the gold medal. She wants to learn how to swim so she can get closer to her mother, who she's never even met, but has watched on video since she was a kid. So much wrong to parse out here. Hang on, let me get my list-making sheet. 1. If you wanted to use swimming as a way of meeting your mother, why did you wait until your first year in high school to learn how to swim? 2. If you've watched the tape of your mother swimming for years, why can't you manage even a basic doggy paddle? I know it's not the same thing as actual practice, but still. 3. Your mom runs her own swimming school. Why didn't you join that school? And finally, your dad has your mother's phone number.
Fucking ring them up!
Look, I don't like questioning Ellie so much as a character because I actually like her. She's not overly bright, but she runs straight for what she wants. Protocol be damned. And she is the main reason that this manga has a refreshing lack of drama runaround bullshit. She kind of falls into the same category as Sailor Moon from the original anime. Maybe not an aspirational figure, but she has her own definite character. And that character makes her way more relatable than yet another generically nice, cute, and shy, self-insert Mary Sue type. Characters are defined by their actions, and Ellie takes a lot of action, and even inspires more outgoing behavior in her male suitors. Speaking of action, Ellie's parents are some of the worst parents in fictional history. Remember how Ellie had never met her mother? Well, her mother never came to meet her for literally no reason. She squatted out her kid and then just ditched her on an island with her deadbeat dad, and then never visited them in at least 15 years. Steady on, lady. Much more of this and you'll make the parents from Home Alone 3 look like experts. There's a whole scene where the mom and dad discuss how she wanted a husband and a kid who stayed out of her way as she pursued her career as a swimming coach. But why the hell would you bother having a family if you're never going to interact with them? When Wet Blanket and Ellie finally meet for the first time, she doesn't say a word to her daughter, ignoring her in favor of Violence Jack, who she wants to be her protege. The only time Ellie manages to get her mother to acknowledge that she exists is when she snatches Jack away from her. Don't interrupt me! Noggy!
No more
that's the end of the manga. Yeah, I'm not kidding. S.P.Y doesn't really have an arc or a point to it, because it was pretty clearly cancelled after only 13 chapters. So what you end up with is this pile of characters and story threads that never even had a chance to go anywhere. And I'm not gonna act like its cancellation was a tragedy or anything, but it was kind of a shame that S.P.Y wasn't given more time to develop its ideas. The parent plot and the stuff about the swim club were bizarre and sloppy, but the core trio of Ellie, Jack, and Assman was surprisingly engaging. But in the end, I'm not gonna raise a fuss when a rotten house on a solid foundation gets torn down. S.P.Y was created by Ukyo Ayane. She's got quite a few other works, mostly targeted at the female demographic. The only one I was familiar with was Desire Climax, which I don't recommend. Unless you thought Twilight and 50 Shades of Grey were touching romances, in which case Desire Climax is probably right up your alley. Till next time, I'm Pluto Burns, and this has been Eagleland.
So I swim until you can't see land, swim until you can't see land, swim until you can't see land. Are you a man? Are you a bag of sand? Swim until you can't see land, swim until you can't see land, swim until you can't see land. Are you a man? Are you a bag of sand?
And then there's a bit where Ellie gets sick because she fell asleep on the floor with her clothes on, and he stops by and puts a rag on her head. Basic manga stereotypical caregiving. So even though Mr. Grey claims to not care, he willingly takes on the role of caregiver. And for some reason, the manga tries to create drama where the other romantic interest is the one who mostly took care of her, but she blearily saw Assman and gave him all the credit. But then later, Violence Jack just tells her that he's the one who took care of her, and she accepts it. And no drama was had. Time.